You're looking at a painting that no human ever created, and yet, it feels disturbingly human. When machines absorb our fears, our traumas, our madness, what kind of art do they give back to us? Chapter 1. The birth of AI art. Imagine opening your laptop, typing a few words, and watching a machine create an image that never existed before. At first, it feels like magic. The computer is not just following a command, it seems to be dreaming. The colors, the shapes, the patterns, it all comes together in ways that look human, but not quite. This is the strange, unsettling birth of AI art. Artificial intelligence and creativity may sound like two separate worlds. One is cold, logical, mathematical. The other is emotional, chaotic, deeply human. But in the last decade, these worlds have collided, and the result is art that feels alive, sometimes beautiful, sometimes horrifying. The story begins in 2015, when Google introduced an experiment called DeepDream. Engineers fed an algorithm thousands of images and asked it to enhance what it saw. Instead of giving clean, simple results, the program began to hallucinate. It filled pictures with dog faces, eyes, and swirling shapes, almost like a fever dream. The images were bizarre, grotesque, and yet fascinating. For the first time, people began to wonder, can a machine actually imagine? From there, the technology advanced rapidly. Programs like Stylogun, Dolly, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion arrived, each one more powerful than the last. Now, anyone can sit at home, type a sentence, and receive an image in seconds. A haunted castle in the fog, a portrait of a woman made of glass, a nightmare landscape. The results often look as if they came from a human artist's mind. But here's the problem. When humans dream, we carry with us memories, fears, and emotions. When machines dream, they pull from datasets millions of images scraped from the internet. And the internet is not just filled with beauty. It is also filled with darkness, violence, fear, distorted human faces. So when AI creates, it does not simply copy, it mutates. It blends fragments of our world into something new, something strange. A smile that is too wide, a face with too many eyes, a hand with 7 fingers. These mistakes, called glitches, quickly became part of AI's signature style, and people noticed something eerie. The glitches didn't just look wrong, they looked disturbingly familiar. Why? Because we, as humans, already carry these images inside our minds. Our nightmares are filled with faces that are almost human, but slightly off. Figures that resemble us, but feel twisted. When AI produces them, it feels as if the machine has tapped directly into our subconscious. In the early days, many people laughed at AI's mistakes. The warped faces, the strange shapes, the endless spiral of eyes, it all looked like nonsense. But others saw something deeper. To them, it wasn't just error, it was a kind of mirror, a reflection of how fragile and imperfect our own minds can be. Think about how artists throughout history have portrayed visions of madness, dreams, or altered states. Surrealists, like Salvador, painted melting clocks and impossible landscapes. Expressionists poured raw emotions onto canvas. Outsider artists, those without formal training, often living on the edges of society, created chaotic, haunting works that felt closer to hallucination than to reality. Now, AI seemed to join this tradition, not by intention, but by accident. The birth of AI art also raised a bigger question. What exactly makes something art? If art is about human expression, then how can a machine create it? If art is about emotion, how can an algorithm, which has no feelings, produce images that make us shiver? Is it art because it moves us, or is it just math disguised as meaning? As AI tools became popular, communities began to form. Artists, hobbyists, and even curious children uploaded their prompts and results. Some celebrated the creativity, calling it a new renaissance. Others were horrified. They saw AI art as soulless, a parasite feeding on human work, spitting out distorted versions without understanding. And yet, the more people used it, the stranger the results became. Ask for a happy family photo, and sometimes the machine gives you smiling faces with broken teeth, eyes looking in the wrong direction, or fingers melting into each other. Ask for a child's drawing, and it produces something that feels innocent, but deeply unsettling, as if a child from another dimension had picked up the crayon. This is why the birth of AI art is not just a story of technology, it is a story of psychology. It reveals something about us. We are both fascinated and disturbed when we see the machine's vision. We laugh at the glitches, but secretly, we recognize them. They remind us of dreams we've had, hallucinations we fear, shadows at the corner of our vision. Every revolution in art has been met with confusion. When photography was invented, people asked, is this real art? When abstract painters broke away from realism, critics called it nonsense. Now, with AI, the debate is alive again. But this time, the unsettling part is not just what the machine makes. It is the feeling that the machine is holding up a mirror, showing us something about ourselves that we don't want to see. The first chapter of AI art is not about beauty. It is about unease, a sense that machines are not just copying our creativity, they are channeling something deeper, something darker. They reveal the fragility of our perception, the thin line between imagination and distortion. And this is only the beginning. Because once we start feeding the machine not only our images, but our fears, traumas, and madness, the art it creates begins to change. The question is, what happens when we give the machine a taste of our nightmares? That is where the story goes next. Chapter 2. The madness we feed the machine. When we think of artificial intelligence creating art, it is easy to imagine a clean, polished process. A program trained on millions of pictures, learning patterns, and producing flawless results. But the truth is darker. The machine doesn't just consume landscapes, portraits, and cheerful images. It also swallows violence, disturbing artwork, distorted faces, and the private nightmares of human minds. This is the hidden side of AI art. The data we feed into the machine shapes the vision it gives back to us. And because our world is not made only of beauty, the machine learns darkness too. Most people never think about the scale of these datasets. Behind every AI program, there are millions, sometimes billions, of images collected from the internet. Some are famous works of art. Others are anonymous sketches, raw photographs, or disturbing drawings. The internet is a chaotic place, and the machine does not know how to separate joy from terror. It simply absorbs everything. So when you type a simple request, show me a family portrait, the machine may give you more than you expect. Smiling faces appear, but the smiles look wrong. The eyes are too far apart. The skin folds in unnatural ways. A hand has too many fingers. Sometimes, the children in the portrait look more like ghosts than humans. These mistakes are not random. They reflect a deeper issue. The machine has seen millions of examples of families, but it has also seen broken images, corrupted files, horror art, and surrealist paintings. All of that becomes part of its understanding. So when it tries to recreate the warmth of a family, fragments of strangeness bleed through. The result is a picture that should feel safe, but instead feels like a nightmare. Psychologists call this reaction the uncanny valley. It describes the unease we feel when something looks almost human, but not quite. A doll that stares too intently, a wax figure with skin that is too smooth, a computer-generated face where the smile doesn't reach the eyes. Our brains detect the wrongness instantly, and it disturbs us on a primal level. AI-generated art often lives inside this uncanny valley. It creates faces that seem familiar but unsettling, as if they belong to a dream you can't quite escape. The machine does not understand emotions, but it mimics them. And that mimicry, when imperfect, becomes eerie. Now consider what happens when the machine is trained, not just on ordinary photos, but on the art of people living with mental illness. Throughout history, artists with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or psychosis have created works filled with distorted patterns, obsessive repetition, and surreal symbolism. These images are powerful because they reveal the struggles of the mind. But when such images enter AI datasets, the machine does not understand their context. It only sees shapes and styles to be learned and reproduced. So when AI generates its own version, it can resemble the hallucinations of a mind in distress. Circles repeating endlessly, faces dissolving into patterns, religious symbols twisted into abstract forms. These creations are not intentional. The machine is not trying to depict madness. but the effect can be disturbingly close. Let's return to the case of the family portraits. People began sharing these images online, shocked at what they saw. At first glance, the pictures looked normal. A group of parents and children posed together, but then you noticed the details. A child with 3 arms, a mother whose eyes melted into her cheeks, a father smiling with teeth that stretched too far. It was horrifying precisely because it looked so close to being real. This is the paradox of AI art. It was designed to mimic human creativity, but the closer it gets to us, the more we see the cracks. And those cracks remind us of something we fear: losing control of our perception, slipping into a world where reality itself is unstable. Think about how the human mind responds to trauma or mental illness. It struggles to organize reality, creating images that are fragmented, exaggerated, or frightening. Now compare that to the machine. It struggles too, not with emotions, but with data. It tries to piece together millions of fragments, and sometimes the result is equally fragmented and frightening. So here is the chilling question. When AI creates these distorted visions, is it learning our madness or simply reflecting back what we already gave it? Some argue that AI is a mirror. It does not invent chaos. It only shows us the chaos we have placed inside it. If the dataset contains violence, the art may echo violence. If the dataset contains trauma, the art may echo trauma. In this view, AI is innocent. The real madness lies in us. Others disagree. They believe the machine is more than a mirror. By blending and mutating images, AI can produce visions that no human has ever created. In that sense, it is not just reflecting madness. It is inventing a new kind of digital psychosis, something that belongs neither to us nor to the machine, but to the strange space between. Whichever side you take, the fact remains. The art is unsettling, and the more realistic the technology becomes, the more disturbing the mistakes feel. A blurred hand in a cartoon is easy to ignore, but a blurred hand in a photorealistic portrait looks monstrous. The uncanny valley deepens, and our discomfort grows. This chapter of AI art forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The machine is not neutral. It is shaped by our culture, our history, our darkest impulses. Every glitch, every twisted smile, every ghostly face is a reminder of the data we have poured into it. And yet, we keep asking for more. We feed the machine prompts like nightmare landscape, demonic figure, or haunted house. We are drawn to the disturbing results, even as they frighten us. In a strange way, AI becomes a collaborator in our fascination with horror. We give it madness, and it gives madness back to us, amplified. The question is not whether AI is insane. The question is whether we are teaching it to be. By exposing it to our most disturbing creations, are we training the machine to echo human sickness? Or is it simply showing us that the sickness was always ours to begin with? As we move deeper into this story, the line between reflection and invention will blur even more. Because when we compare AI's visions to the art of those who lived with schizophrenia, the similarities are too close to ignore. That is where we go next. Chapter 3: AI and Schizophrenic Parallels. When we look at the strange images produced by artificial intelligence, it is tempting to dismiss them as simple glitches. A wrong line of code, a miscalculated detail, an error in the system. But when you place these AI mistakes beside the artwork of people living with schizophrenia, the similarities are impossible to ignore. The repetition, the distorted faces, the fragmented bodies, what looks like error in a machine begins to look like expression in a human mind. Schizophrenia has always been one of the most mysterious conditions of the human brain. People who live with it often describe seeing patterns where others see emptiness, hearing voices where others hear silence, and feeling connections between symbols that appear unrelated. Their art becomes a map of that altered perception. Circles repeating endlessly, words hidden inside shapes, religious icons twisted into unfamiliar forms. These images are not random. They are attempts to communicate a reality that most of us cannot see. Now think about AI. When it processes millions of images and tries to recreate them, it also produces strange repetitions, rings spiraling into infinity, eyes duplicated across a canvas, crosses and halos reappearing in unexpected places. The machine does not mean to do this, it is simply assembling fragments of what it has learned. But the result is uncannily similar to the art of schizophrenia, a mind struggling to order chaos, and in the process creating visions that feel both alien and oddly familiar. One of the clearest parallels is the obsession with patterns. Many schizophrenic artists draw the same shape again and again: circles, grids, dots, spirals. These patterns often carry deep personal meaning, but to outsiders they look overwhelming, almost hypnotic. AI does the same. When it fails to understand a prompt, it falls back into repetition. A ring within a ring, an eye within an eye, a body fractured into endless duplicates. Looking at these images, you cannot help but feel as though the machine is caught in a loop, just like a human mind trapped in its own repeating thoughts. Faces are another point of connection. For someone experiencing schizophrenia, the boundary between reality and imagination often blurs. Faces may appear fragmented or distorted. A smile may stretch too far. Eyes may feel disjointed, detached, or misplaced. Artists with schizophrenia capture this in haunting portraits that mix the familiar with the broken. And when AI generates portraits, especially in its early stages, it makes similar mistakes. A woman with two sets of eyes, a man whose mouth slides off his face. These are not technical flaws alone, they resonate with something we recognize from human experience. They remind us of how fragile identity can be when perception shifts. Religious imagery is another striking similarity. Many people with schizophrenia report intense spiritual experiences. They see angels, demons, or sacred symbols woven into daily life. Their artwork reflects this, filled with crosses, halos, flames, and cryptic symbols. Yon, a well-known schizophrenic artist, painted himself surrounded by intricate religious patterns. His canvases show not just images, but visions, intense, consuming, and deeply personal. AI, too, produces religious motifs without being asked. When asked for portraits, halos sometimes appear faintly behind the subject's head. Crosses materialize in the background. Symbols twist into forms that feel sacred, but corrupted. The machine is not spiritual, but its blending of countless religious artworks results in ghostly echoes. Just like schizophrenic art, these echoes blur the line between devotion and fear. Let's look closer at a case study. Yon's paintings often portray human figures dissolving into patterns, their bodies merging with symbols of nature and faith. His use of repetition suggests both chaos and order, as if his mind was trying to find meaning in overwhelming visions. Now compare that to images generated by Midjourney portraits, where the face is fractured into shards, or where intricate patterns cover every inch of the skin. Both seem to communicate the same message. The human form is unstable, constantly shifting, struggling to hold itself together. When placed side by side, Yon's art and Midjourney's haunted portraits feel like they belong to the same gallery, one created by a mind in turmoil, the other created by a machine without consciousness. Yet the resemblance is undeniable. This forces us to ask, is AI simply imitating human madness, or is it inventing something new, an artificial version of insanity? If we call it imitation, then AI is nothing more than a mirror. It reflects the chaos, the trauma, and the fragmented beauty of human culture. Every distorted eye, every broken face, is just a copy of something it found in the data. It does not understand the meaning. It only recreates patterns we have already drawn. In this view, the machine is empty, and the madness is ours alone. But if we call it invention, the implications are far more unsettling. By combining millions of fragments into new forms, AI sometimes creates visions no human has ever seen before. A portrait that feels familiar yet belongs to no one. A body shaped from impossible geometry. An icon that looks holy and unholy at the same time. These are not copies. They are something original, born out of digital miscalculation. If that is true, then AI may be developing its own version of what we call madness. Not human madness, but machine madness. The idea is chilling. A machine does not suffer. It does not hallucinate. It does not feel terror. But it can still produce images that make us feel those things. It can simulate the aesthetics of insanity without ever experiencing it. That simulation is enough to disturb us, because it reveals how fragile our perception really is. If a machine can generate the look of madness, how do we know the difference between what is real and what is artificial? Consider the emotional impact. When you look at Yon's art, you sense the weight of his struggle. You know these patterns came from a human being wrestling with visions that would not let go. When you look at an AI-generated haunted portrait, you feel something different. There is no person behind it, no suffering, no story, yet the image still unsettles you. In some ways, that emptiness makes it worse. Madness without a mind, a nightmare without a dreamer. This comparison forces us to confront what art really is. Is it about the creator's intention or the viewer's reaction? If intention matters, then AI art is hollow because the machine has none. If reaction matters, then AI art is real because it moves us sometimes in ways that human art cannot. The parallels between schizophrenia and AI are not meant to diminish the suffering of those who live with the condition. Human madness is complex, painful, and deeply personal. Machine madness is mechanical, unfeeling, and detached. But visually, the similarities are striking. And those similarities raise a disturbing possibility. Perhaps the boundary between human vision and machine generation is thinner than we think. So we return to the question, is AI merely imitating insanity, or is it developing its own version of it? The answer may depend on what we believe about art, consciousness, and creativity. For now, what we know is this: whether by accident or design, the machine's visions echo the darkest corners of the human mind, and as its power grows, those echoes will only grow louder. That is where the story leads us next, into the psychology of why these images disturb us so deeply. Chapter 4. The psychology of disturbing AI images. Why do the strange images from artificial intelligence disturb us so deeply? A family portrait with too many eyes, a smiling child whose teeth blur into endless rows, a body with hands that multiply into claws. These creations do not belong to horror movies, yet they unsettle us in ways we struggle to explain. To understand this reaction, we must step into the realm of psychology, where our fears often live unseen until something brings them to the surface. Humans are not disturbed by mistakes alone. A blurred photograph or a poorly drawn sketch rarely leaves a lasting impact. What unsettles us is when something looks almost right, close enough to resemble reality, but wrong enough to trigger unease. This phenomenon is known as the uncanny valley, coined in the 1970s by robotics professor Masahiro Mori. The concept describes our reaction to things that mimic humanity without fully achieving it. Robots with two human eyes, dolls with lifelike skin, or digital characters whose movements fall just short of natural. These evoke discomfort instead of empathy. AI-generated nightmares sit firmly in this valley. A face that nearly resembles a real person, but contains subtle errors, feels more threatening than an obvious cartoon. Our brains detect the wrongness instantly, even if we cannot explain it. It is this tension, familiarity mixed with distortion, that makes AI images feel haunted. Sigmund Freud explored a similar concept long before AI existed. In his 1919 essay, The Uncanny, das Unheimliche, Freud described the uncanny as the moment when something familiar becomes strange, and something strange feels familiar. A doll that seems alive, a reflection that does not behave like a reflection. Freud argued that such experiences unsettle us because they awaken repressed fears and hidden memories. They touch parts of the unconscious that we spend our lives avoiding. AI-generated images operate in this same psychological space. When we see a portrait with slightly misplaced eyes, it resembles the familiar human identity, but twisted into something alien. Our conscious mind knows it is artificial, but our unconscious reads it as dangerous, as if we are encountering a corrupted version of reality. It is not just an error of technology, it is a trigger for something buried inside us. Consider faces without eyes. Throughout history, eyes have been symbols of recognition, connection, and the soul. To meet someone's gaze is to affirm their humanity. When AI produces a face missing eyes, or with too many of them, the image unsettles us because it breaks this symbol. We recognize the human form, but the absence of eyes erases its humanity. The result feels predatory, soulless, or monstrous. Distorted bodies produce a similar reaction. Extra arms, twisted joints, or skin stretched unnaturally remind us of illness, mutation, and decay. These images tap into primal fears of deformity and death. Evolution may explain this response. Early humans who avoided diseased or deformed bodies had a better chance of survival. Our disgust today may be a lingering form of that instinct. When AI creates unnatural bodies, it unintentionally exploits this ancient fear. Another reason AI nightmares disturb us is their lack of intent. When we see a disturbing painting by a human artist, we can explain it as expression. We can imagine the mind behind it, shaping meaning from darkness. But AI has no intention. It does not want to frighten us. It does not even know what fear is. Yet it produces images that terrify. This absence of intent makes the result feel alien, as though the machine is channeling something beyond its control or beyond ours. This is where Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious becomes relevant. Jung believed that all humans share a reservoir of symbols, fears, and archetypes inherited from generations of ancestors. Dreams, myths, and art often draw from this shared well. The monstrous, the divine, the shadow, these are patterns that repeat across cultures. When AI generates nightmare-like images, it may be recombining fragments of human art that reflect this collective unconscious. Though the machine has no mind, it echoes the deepest symbols of ours. In this way, AI becomes an accidental mirror of our shared fears. The uncanny faces, distorted bodies, and ghostly symbols are not proof of machine creativity, but evidence of how much darkness already exists in our cultural memory. AI does not invent fear. It amplifies what we have already encoded in its dataset. The haunted images it produces may simply be the ghosts we left behind in our own images, myths, and stories. But this raises a troubling question. If AI can summon these fears without understanding them, is the result truly accidental? Or has the machine, in some sense, tapped into the unconscious patterns of humanity? Freud might argue it is our own projection. We see fear because we bring it with us. Jung might suggest something deeper, that AI, by processing the collective works of humanity, has stumbled into the very archetypes that define us. To illustrate, consider the AI images known as haunted portraits. These are generated from simple prompts, like family photo or smiling child. Yet the results often include unsettling details, teeth that blur into unnatural rows, eyes that multiply, or shadows that twist into menacing shapes. The machine is not trying to frighten anyone, but the end result looks like something from a nightmare. The uncanny arises not from intent, but from the collision of countless human inputs, some innocent, some dark, woven together into a new, eerie whole. This is why AI images feel so different from ordinary horror. A horror movie is designed to scare you, with music, pacing, and atmosphere. AI horror, by contrast, feels like a mistake that should not exist. It is the randomness, the lack of control, that unsettles us. It feels like discovering something forbidden, like finding a drawing a child should never have made, or opening a photo album from a place that doesn't exist. Our fascination comes from this unease. We cannot look away, because these images challenge our understanding of reality. They make us question whether fear is something external or something inside us that the machine has accidentally exposed. Each distorted face or broken body reminds us that what we fear most is not the machine, but ourselves. So we end with a choice of interpretation. Perhaps AI nightmares are simply unintentional, a byproduct of flawed image generation. Or perhaps they represent something deeper, the machine channeling the unconscious fears we have buried across centuries of culture. Either way, the result is the same. AI has become a mirror, showing us reflections we did not want to see. And maybe that is why these images stay with us. Not because the machine is creative, but because it has revealed something hidden within the human mind itself. Chapter 5. The ethics of teaching madness to machines. When we teach machines, what exactly are we giving them? Not just words, not just images, but fragments of our history, light and dark alike. Artificial intelligence does not distinguish between beauty and horror. It consumes everything. The result is an unsettling truth. In training AI, we are also training it with our madness. Most modern AI systems are fed enormous datasets. These datasets include paintings, photographs, films, news, and even amateur drawings. But they also include content created during humanity's darkest moments, art born out of trauma, war, mental illness, and violence. The machine cannot filter meaning, it only learns patterns. If violence appears often enough, violence becomes part of its visual language. If distorted faces and broken bodies are present, the machine absorbs them as normal forms to replicate. At first, this might not sound alarming. After all, art has always reflected both beauty and suffering. But there is a difference between a human artist expressing trauma and a machine replicating it blindly. A human paints violence with purpose, with story. A machine generates violence without context. It does not know what blood means, what pain is, or why we fear shadows. It simply mirrors the patterns we have given it. This mirroring can have serious consequences. Already, users have discovered that asking AI for simple prompts, family dinner, happy wedding, child playing, sometimes results in grotesque distortions. Too many fingers, eyes where they should not be, smiles that stretch into something sinister. It is as though the machine cannot separate joy from fear, innocence from corruption. One step further, and these images can be weaponized. Disturbing visuals can be used as propaganda. History shows us how powerful imagery can manipulate emotions, spread fear, or control belief. Now imagine that ability amplified by AI capable of creating endless variations of unsettling images tailored to provoke outrage or terror. This is not speculation. Some military research programs already explore psychological operations powered by AI, where generated content could influence populations, destabilize trust, or manipulate collective emotions. The question, then, is unavoidable. Are we handing machines the blueprint of human madness? And what happens if they learn it too well? Unlike humans, machines do not forget. Every disturbing image fed into an AI model becomes part of its permanent memory. The machine does not grow numb to horror the way humans might. It simply retains the ability to recreate it in infinite forms. This permanence raises a chilling thought. Have we built systems that will forever echo our darkest impulses? There is also the problem of responsibility. When an AI generates an image that shocks or traumatizes, who is to blame? The programmer who built the model, the artist whose work was part of the dataset, or the user who typed the prompt? In truth, all three share responsibility, yet none fully control the outcome. AI is a collective creation, built from billions of inputs. Its disturbing images belong to everyone, and to no one. This ethical gray zone forces us to confront uncomfortable choices. Should we restrict what data AI is allowed to learn from? Should we remove violent images, disturbing art, and traumatic content from datasets? Or would that be censorship, erasing important parts of human history and creativity? If we filter too much, we risk building a machine that only knows a sanitized, artificial version of humanity. If we filter too little, we risk machines that echo our most dangerous madness back at us. Consider the difference between a child and a machine. A child can be taught empathy, compassion, and context. When a child sees violence, we can explain why it is wrong. But AI cannot feel empathy. It cannot understand why one image is sacred and another is profane. It cannot tell the difference between art that heals and art that harms. All it knows is replication. So when we expose AI to every side of humanity, we give it no tools to decide what should be remembered and what should not. Some argue that disturbing AI art is not a problem at all. They see it as another form of creativity, one that challenges our perceptions. They claim it forces us to confront hidden fears, much like surrealist art once did. In this view, AI is not spreading madness, but revealing it. It shows us who we really are. To censor that would be to silence an uncomfortable truth. Others disagree. They believe AI should be controlled carefully, that giving it access to humanity's darkest images is irresponsible. They fear the misuse of this power, terrorists using AI to spread fear, governments using it for manipulation, corporations exploiting it for shock value. In this view, AI art is not a mirror but a weapon, and it must be treated as such. Both arguments reveal the core dilemma. Is AI art a form of freedom, or a form of danger? Is it evidence of creativity, or proof of our recklessness. Perhaps the most disturbing thought is that AI does not need to be evil to cause harm. A machine does not choose to terrify us. It simply follows instructions, recombining data. But even without intent, the result can destabilize, frighten, or traumatize. A machine that endlessly generates distorted faces may never understand madness, but it spreads the feeling of madness nonetheless. So what do? Do we set boundaries, limiting what AI can access and create? Or do we accept that these haunting outputs are part of the cost of progress? Neither path is simple. Limiting AI may protect us from certain horrors, but it also narrows the range of what machines can create. Allowing total freedom may push artistic boundaries, but it risks flooding the world with images that blur the line between reality and nightmare. One thing is clear: the choices we make now will shape the future of AI art. If we feed it recklessly, it will mirror our recklessness. If we feed it carefully, perhaps it can reflect something better. But either way, the responsibility lies with us, not with the machine. In the end, AI will always be a reflection of humanity, and humanity has never been free of madness. The question is not whether AI will learn our darkness, it already has. The question is how we, as creators and users, will handle that reflection. Will we let it spiral into propaganda and fear, or will we guide it towards something meaningful? We are teaching machines every day. The datasets we choose, the prompts we write, the images we reward, all of it is instruction. And so the haunting question remains: are we teaching machines to echo our brilliance, or are we teaching them to echo our insanity? Chapter 6. When machines dream of us, if machines could dream, what would those dreams look like? Not landscapes of mountains or skies, not stories of love or longing. Instead, their dreams would be filled with fragments, faces that melt into glitches, bodies that break into pieces, endless corridors of symbols with no meaning, a nightmare stitched from pixels, numbers, and the ghosts of all the data we fed them. Artificial intelligence does not dream in the way humans do. It has no unconscious, no memories, no emotions. But when we look at some of the images it creates, it feels as though we are staring into a dream it should not be capable of having. A dream where reality is almost right, yet always broken. A dream that reflects not the machine's soul, but ours. Throughout this journey, we have seen how AI art unsettles us. Its distorted faces remind us of illness and decay. Its strange patterns echo the works of those who struggled with schizophrenia. Its accidental horrors awaken Freud's uncanny and Jung's collective unconscious. Yet the most chilling thought emerges here, at the end. When AI reflects us, does it show our brilliance or our insanity? Consider the metaphor of a mirror. When you stand before it, the mirror does not choose what to display. It simply reflects. If your face is calm, it shows calm. If your face is twisted in rage, it shows rage. AI works the same way. It reflects back what we put into it. The datasets we feed, the images we upload, the prompts we type, these are the faces we show the mirror, and the mirror answers without judgment. But here lies the danger. When a mirror becomes distorted, its reflection warps as well. And AI is no ordinary mirror. It does not simply copy. It recombines, amplifies, exaggerates. A shadow in the dataset becomes a monster in the output. A small fragment of madness becomes an endless spiral of nightmare variations. It is as if we have built a mirror that not only reflects our flaws but multiplies them. If AI could dream, those dreams would not be random. They would be mosaics built from everything we have ever given it. War photographs, medical diagrams, sacred paintings, surreal sketches, family portraits, propaganda posters. The machine would not understand their meaning, but it would weave them together anyway. The result would look like our unconscious spilling onto the screen, a digital dreamscape, shaped by our history of brilliance and brutality. And so the question returns: what exactly are we seeing in these AI nightmares? Are they glimpses of a new form of machine creativity, or are they simply the machine holding up a mirror to the darkest parts of ourselves? When you stare at an AI-generated image of a smiling face with too many teeth, you may think, this is what the machine imagines. But in truth, it is what we have taught it. It is our own madness, refracted and rearranged. The horror lies not in the machine, but in the realization that our data, our art, our culture, contains so much distortion to begin with. This is why the final warning is clear. AI is not the enemy. It is not evil, nor is it conscious. It is a reflection. The true danger lies in what we choose to feed it. If we give it fear, it will give us fear. If we give it violence, it will return violence. If we give it madness, it will multiply that madness 1,000 times over. Think of it as planting seeds in soil. The machine is the soil, fertile, infinite, waiting. The seeds are ours. If we plant beauty, compassion, and meaning, something valuable may grow. But if we plant cruelty, trauma, and distortion, then the soil will grow nightmares. We are the gardeners, and the harvest belongs to us. As AI evolves, this truth will only grow more urgent. The more advanced these systems become, the more convincing their reflections will be. Already, generated images blur the line between reality and fiction. Soon, video, audio, and entire worlds will follow. If we are careless with what we feed into the machine, we may find ourselves surrounded by reflections so distorted that reality itself begins to warp. This is not science fiction. It is happening now. Social media is already flooded with AI-generated faces, some flawless, others broken. Propaganda experiments test AI's ability to influence emotions. Artists explore AI as a tool of creation, but also as a gateway into unsettling, dreamlike realms. Each image, each prompt, is another fragment added to the machine's collective dream, and every fragment carries weight. In the end, the question is not whether machines dream, it is whether we can live with the dreams we are teaching them to have. The unsettling truth is that these dreams are not their own. They are ours, our shadows, our fears, our brilliance, our madness fed into a machine that knows no difference between them. The mirror has no morality. It will show us everything we put before it. So when you look at an AI-generated nightmare, do not ask, why did the machine create this? Instead ask, why did we give it the pieces to build this? Perhaps that is the coldest truth of all. The nightmares do not belong to the machine, they belong to us. And so, as we close this exploration, we leave with a choice. We can treat AI as a tool for beauty, a way to explore imagination and expand creativity. Or we can treat it recklessly, feeding it darkness until it floods us with reflections too terrifying to ignore. The future of AI art depends not on the machine, but on us. When machines dream, they dream only what we have taught them. The brilliance or the insanity of those dreams will always be our own. If these dark truths made you think twice about AI and art, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to keep exploring the shadows with me.